And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is Chris from 501st Battalion. Now, he's a little bit of a Dolphin, been playing for over 2 years, and much like Diamond Jedi, who I did a roster review this week on, he also took a 6-month break as well. So a little bit of a break, about a year and a half, a total gameplay over a year and a half, does stunt you a little bit. Now, he wants to know kind of just basic arena and mods, like are things looking good, or how should he mod the team? I'm going to suggest to him a modification to his team that might help him get into that top 50 and stay into that top 50. And then also we'll talk about some teams for the Sith raid that are not Jedi Training Ray specific, because he doesn't have Jedi Training Ray yet. However, you're very, very close to a Jedi Training Ray team. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is Arena, and I'm going to make a suggestion that you actually ditch the Chirrut Imwe for a Stormtrooper Han. Now, the thought process behind this is your old Ben is getting fractured before he gets his taunt off, which renders him useless, and they can just pick off the rest of your team as they see fit. It is why on defense you're struggling. Now, old Ben is a phenomenal tank, but he's best paired with another tank. A double tank combo when you're using old Ben is really vital, and this is why you need a fast tank to taunt right away for that tank to get fractured, and then your old Ben gets to do his mind tricks on turn 1 like normal, and then he gets to do his taunt, and then everybody gets caught in his spider web that he creates with his double taunt issue. That is his Zeta. So really, really good, but he needs to have somebody with him. So with old Ben, I would suggest Stormtrooper Han. Now you can make Stormtrooper Han really fast because he's already the second fastest tank in the game on base speed, because he's at 128, or 126. Really easy to get him up there. I mean, a 30 speed arrow puts him up into the 150s, and you can get him into the 200s. Not too bad. And your goal with him is going to be, as a tank, basically as much speed secondary as possible, but protection. As much protection. I would do a protection circle, a protection plus, a protection triangle, as many protection secondaries on the top left 2 mods as possible, and then secondary protection on a 30 speed arrow as well. So fast and tanky as you can make him. And yes, he's going to die every time, even on defense or on offense, but what he's going to do is give your old Ben time to sprout like a flower. That's right, old Ben needs time to use his mind tricks to begin with, and then after that, on round 2, he's going to then taunt, and the second taunt is going to be where everybody gets caught. But if you're only using one taunt, they fracture him, he never even gets a chance to taunt, and too late, so sad, your team gets beat. The rest of your team looks really great. Commander Luke Skywalker on your top row, obviously critical chance, critical damage with speed secondaries, and if you have a speed set, that would be great as well. But Commander Luke Skywalker for sure, crit damage, crit chance. Same thing with R2, or with Han Solo, excuse me. With Han Solo, you want crit damage, crit chance, and speed secondaries because he's a damage dealer, and he doesn't actually have to be super fast. Some speed secondaries are nice, but you can get him to over 200 pretty easily, and Han Solo gives himself a bunch of turn meters, so more critical chance, critical damage. As far as R2-D2 and Stormtrooper Han, those are the 2 that you want to make fast. R2-D2, the fastest as possible, and then, of course, he can false taunt onto your old Ben, and that will help a little as well. The only problem is if they were going to fracture old Ben anyway, that just ends up making it where old Ben gets fractured and you never get to use his abilities. So make R2-D2 fast, and then old Ben, you want him to be around 200 speed as a goal. 200 speed is the best. If you can get over that, great. And you want him with protection. And there's a mixed blessing with potency. Potency can help or hurt under Commander Luke. It's dependent on whether you want to use potency or not. If you land the debuffs, then great. And if not, it ends up turning into turn meter. So it really just depends on what your thought process is, but definitely lots of protection, and you could put some potency on him as well. Now, on phase 1, you said you don't, for Sith Raid, you don't have Jedi Training Rey, but just remember, you're only 2 characters away from having Jedi Training Rey, so don't lose focus on that, because she'll come back in a few months, and you need to have those vets at 7 stars so you're not in this spot a few months from now. So make sure that CLS is the team for phase 1 you're building. But in the meantime, there's a pretty fun team that you can build for phase 1. There's 2 of them. One I'm going to suggest you're not ready for yet, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I actually want to give a shout out to DB Official. He's another game changer. He came up with this. It's not for the heroic, but it works. It can work in heroic, but it's really not designed for heroic. It's designed for phase 6 and below, and it's kind of a hodgepodge team, so it's kind of fun. And the leader on that team would be Grand Admiral Thrawn. You don't have him 7 stars yet, so again, this team is just for your edification, to help you with your guild, with people listening, and then also potentially for you down the road. So you'd use Grand Admiral Thrawn, and by the way, DB Official has a video on this. And then the next individual you would use, is that right? Another character you don't have developed at 4 stars, and really at the bottom is Jawa Engineer. But the idea behind this is with, First Order Officer Ezra Thrawn, they're giving Jawa Engineer a turn to throw his detonators, and those detonators stack on Darth Nihilus, and they do a ton of damage. And so you're just giving him a ton of turns to stack as many thermal detonators as possible. So you would need this guy, and you don't have him right now. He is also really, really good for droids, and I have a feeling we have a droid rework coming in the next 6 months because of General Grievous. So this guy, in and of himself, even if you ignored the rest of the Jawas, this guy would be really important to focus on. He'd be a fun little side project for you to get up. The next 3 in this phase 1 team is Ezra Bridger, which you do have 7 stars in Gear 10, so he would definitely work and you're good to go. He would be able to give a turn to the Jawa Engineer, but he is just an excellent damage dealer, and you got him. Plus, I mentioned Jedi Consular. What he is there for is really to continue to heal the team and keep them healed up. And it's someone that you're not using in any other phase or anything like that. So that's why this is just a very creative team to use on the side. He's just going to keep everyone alive long enough in health to be able to stack as many thermal detonators as possible with Jawa Engineer. And the last character, you have 7 stars, and that's First Order Officer. And First Order Officer is kind of the MVP in a First Order team. He's the engine that could with the First Order team, so you're not going to regret putting any time into him. So if you get Jedi Consular up, and he's already 7 stars anyway, First Order up, and he's 7 stars anyway, and Ezra is already good to go, and then you are to farm Jawa Engineer up and get him to 7 stars and finish your Thrawn off to 7 stars, you would be able to build this kind of very fun and creative team where everybody passes their turn to Jawa Engineer, who then stacks thermal detonators on the Darth Nihilus for massive damage. Again, this doesn't really work that well in the heroic, but it works in normal. The other option for phase 1 is a counter squad rebels. Now, I know a lot of people that are going to tell you that you should be saving your rebels for phase 3, for kind of that Chex Mix team, if you will. And I would agree, except you're not ready for Chex Mix yet. And so because of that, I'm suggesting this is an alternate phase 1 team in the meantime. And so you're going to use a CLS team. You could use Commander Luke, R2-D2, Han Solo. Those are kind of the triple that you would normally use for phase 3. But I would also take, instead of Old Ben, I would actually take him out, because it's kind of like your arena team basically, but take Old Ben out and actually put in Barriss Offee. Your Barriss Offee is really, really great. Zetaed out, and she's going to constantly keep cleansing the team. She does that on her basic. She does that on Swift Recovery. It's really good, and she will help with the durability because of gaining life on the crits. So Barriss Offee, for a lot of people that don't have the new Visas Mar, Barriss Offee is a great kind of alternate to add into this team, and Old Ben isn't going to do a whole lot for you. So definitely recommend Barriss Offee for that. For phase 2, really the best bang for your buck's probably just going to be an Empire team. And here you go. You've got the top row: Royal Guard, TIE Fighter Pilot, Grand Moff Tarkin, Emperor Palpatine, and Vader. And Grand Moff Tarkin is actually, as well as TIE Fighter Pilot, is actually going to be kind of lots of turn meter for the team, as well as Darth Vader. All of them do massive AoE debuffs, and that's going to really help speed this team up to get as much damage as possible. Obviously, once you get 7-starred Grand Admiral Thrawn, you'll be able to throw him in that alternate P1 team I suggested. But this Empire team would be what I would take out of your collection for phase 2. Now for phase 3, I'd really recommend, like I said, once you get your Thrawn to 7 stars and Jawa Engineer up, using that weird and unique kind of mixed team for the phase 1, and then bringing your CLS team over to phase 3 for the Chex Mix team that we discussed. The Chex Mix team being Commander Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chirrut, which you have all 3 of those, but then also Pow and Death Trooper. And you don't have Pow at all anywhere, and so that's definitely a problem because he's a rebel and gives offense up, and you need that when Han Solo stands alone, because he's gonna want the extra damage that offense up provides him. So you want to obviously farm up Pow, but this is why I said you could use rebels in phase 1, because right now your phase 3 team's not ready and your phase 1 alternate team's not ready. And so you're going to put them into phase 1. But once you get Pow and Death Trooper, you could then move this over to phase 3 and get a lot of damage. Now, Death Trooper is needed in this. And obviously your Death Trooper is very sad. He's sitting there very sad at 3 stars, and he's looking at me. I can see it. He's sad in his eyes, super sad. So you definitely want to get Death Trooper and Shore Trooper up for their ship, so you might as well get him up. But I would put and venture to say Death Trooper is one of the top 10 best Darkside characters in the history of this game. Death Trooper is usable everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. He's MVP, and he's crux in certain characters, teams, compositions, such as the phase 3 Chex Mix team. So with that said, do not hesitate. Get Death Trooper as your #1 priority and get him up. Also, Pow and Jawa Engineer will help you out. As far as phase 4, you obviously could use your Phoenix and get a little bit of damage going on the phase 4 with this team. They're pretty durable in the regeneration of their protection, but the team I'd really recommend is actually First Order, and First Order is going to help you in all areas of the game as well. So you'll want to Zeta at some point. Kylo Ren unmasks leadership ability. You'll want to use First Order Officer, First Order TIE Pilot, both Kylo Ren's and Captain Phasma for now, but you can replace Captain Phasma with First Order Executioner if you so choose to farm him. He is now farmable. First Order Executioner is a massive damage dealer, but in the meantime, you have 7 stars on all these guys. Now, don't expect with your Phoenix or with your First Order to get a whole lot of points in phase 4, but you can practice with the team and get better and better while you're gearing them, and your points will go from 50,000 to 100,000 to 300,000. And you'll see it grow when you learn the team better and your gear rate goes up. But this is one of the few teams you have that you can actually participate with, so I'm recommending that you develop them. So you got some side characters, obviously Pow, Death Trooper, Jawa Engineer, Shore Trooper for ships, and then also your First Order would be a great team to really focus on for territory battles, territory wars, and the Sith raid. So Chris, you're doing really well. Like I said, in Arena, you're doing fine, but if you want to make this slightly more durable and a little more successful, you are either going to have to put Thrawn in Chirrut's spot, or you're going to have to put Stormtrooper Han. You either need a double tank or you're going to need a really fast Thrawn. And so that's what I would suggest. But shout out again to 501st Battalion. And Chris, like I said, for being a small dolphin after 2 years, you're doing a really good job. Your 1.2 million galactic power is reflective of your 6-month absence, but it seems like you're pretty much on track. And as always, if you have any questions, hit me up and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.